Hello everybody, and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we'll be taking a look at the state of New Jersey. This was a state that has been very blue for a very long time, but in 2024, as you can see, narrowed up quite a bit. It was only about a 6% margin of victory for Kamala Harris, and this result was one of the most shocking of the night, and it made a lot of people, including myself, rethink how we view New Jersey politically. So today we'll be talking about New Jersey a little bit. I'll be looking at this state's trends and detailing what I think is to come within the next few years. And the big question is, come 2028, is this state going to be a battleground? Are the Republicans be able to actually make a play for New Jersey in a way they haven't been able to do in many years? So again, first of all, Happy New Year to all of you. Thanks for sticking with me. Thanks for hopefully not leaving me in 2024. We're going to keep the channel going well in 2025. And we, again, actually have elections in New Jersey in 2025. We have a key gubernatorial election that I think both parties now are going to invest in light of this election result from, now last year, 2024. So stick with it. Please, those who stick with the channel, I really appreciate it. And with that being said, let's get into it. New Jersey. This is a state that has been blue for a long time. The last Republican to win it presidentially was, I believe, George H.W. Bush in 1988. And the last time Republicans really made a play for this state was 2004. Where George W. Bush thought he had an outside chance of winning it. Again, it wasn't really a swing state. It wasn't a toss-up state. If I were to give you a comparison, I'd probably say Bush viewed New Jersey the way that Democrats maybe viewed Florida or Texas before this election, or maybe the way Donald Trump viewed New Hampshire, right? And he thought he had maybe a chance, but it wasn't really a state that he needed to win, and he made a late play for it, but ultimately John Kerry, the Democrat, won it by 7 points. And that was the last time that Republicans tried to win or even made a play for New Jersey. In 2024, Donald Trump didn't really make a play here. He did hold, to his credit, Donald Trump did hold a couple of rallies in areas like New Jersey that are deep blue. So he did obviously go to Jersey, and he did, I think at least invest in it more than Republicans have in the past 4 to 5 presidential elections, really going back to 2004. But this was not a state that I think Trump expected to win or that his team thought was going to be close. And so on election night, Trump obviously did very well in most states, and he actually won all the swing states. But I think that New Jersey is one of the results that I think Trump and his team has to be most excited about, because obviously they didn't get it done this time, but Republicans have a path to victory here in the future, and that's what we'll be talking about today. And so I think we can kind of look at this in like 3 different categories. The way I like to do it is the Newark area. You have some suburbs as our second category, and then South Jersey as our third category. Now, South Jersey is the first one I want to talk about, and we'll include Camden, even though it did still vote for Kamala Harris. But what you'll see here is that if you compare this to 2012, South Jersey, with the exception of Cape May County, was all blue. Barack Obama won all of these counties, and he won, some of them like Atlantic and, Cumberland specifically, actually, pretty decisively, right? These are 15, 20, 25-point victories. And these are counties that voted for Donald Trump narrowly in 2024. So there's been quite a shift in southern Jersey, and it's actually kind of similar to what you see if you go to the Midwest. If you look at Wisconsin or Pennsylvania or Ohio, what you will notice is that there are many counties that maybe narrowly voted for Obama in 2012 that were pretty solid for Donald Trump in 2024 and in 2020, even maybe in 2016, where you saw counties swing 15 to 20% towards the Republicans over this 12-year span. And in South Jersey, we see a similar thing. We see that areas that were once reliably blue are now, tilting Republican. And actually, some of these counties are flipped from 2020. If you go to 2020, Atlantic voted for Biden actually by a solid, this is a solid 7-point margin, and he won Cumberland by 6. So again, these are counties that are kind of unlike what you saw in the Midwest. Maybe they zoomed right in 2016 and stayed with Trump for the next 3 elections. These are counties that have been trending right for a while, with Obama doing better than Biden and then Biden doing better than Harris. So clearly there's a trend going on here, and I think that that's a good sign for Republicans in South Jersey going forward, because they have more room to grow. It's different than if a county zoomed 20 points to the right in 2016 and then didn't move at all in 2020 or 2024. So this county, there's still some swing in it for Republicans, or these counties really, I should say, as a group. Collectively, there's some swing in it for Republicans, and Donald Trump, I think, is the right type of candidate to win these counties. Now, when we talk about South Jersey, this is a very diverse area, and I think Jersey State is very diverse, and I'll be talking a little bit more about that very shortly here. But I think I'd say with regards to the southern part of the state, you have a lot of working class voters. Now, It's not. I think when you think about the Midwest and we talk about the swing towards Trump, it's people mostly think white working class, and I think that's mostly true in the Midwest. Because Midwest is a more white area, but in South Jersey you have obviously a substantial white working class, but also you have a black working class population, especially in areas like Camden. You have actually, I think the city of Camden is majority black. I'll be getting to that in a second. And you also have significant Hispanic populations, both in Camden County, which is the bluest part of the region, obviously, but also in areas like Cumberland and Atlantic and Cape May, in Salem, etc. And so this is an area where Donald Trump, he made gains with white working class voters, but he also made gains with black voters and most notably Hispanic voters. And this is what everyone's been talking about. I talked about this in my previous video. I talked about Arizona and Nevada. Donald Trump did put up the best Republican performance among Hispanic voters nationally since 2004. Now, we're going to probably wait another few weeks. Usually this data comes out a few months after the election once we have time to audit it and peer review it. But generally, we will have multiple credible outlets release their results by demographic for the election. Now, we do have some preliminary CNN exit polls from the day of, and they show that Hispanic voters only back Kamala Harris nationally by 5%. Now, Joe Biden, per these exit polls, won Hispanic voters by roughly 25 in 2020. So if you just look at the CNN exit polls, Trump does 20% better with Hispanic voters. I buy that. I think he might have actually. I think it might be a bit of an overestimate. I think the number might be closer to maybe 15 or 17, but let's say we buy the 20. If Donald Trump truly did 20% better among Hispanic voters nationally, and we kind of extrapolate that to New Jersey, or specifically South Jersey in this case, we see that and we can look at Camden in a second because I think that's the most Hispanic county in South Jersey, but we see that there were significant working class populations, whether that's in Camden or Atlantic City, or you go up to Newark, or you go up to areas in other states like New York City or Philadelphia, and we see that in these urban areas where Democrats have been thriving for decades, Donald Trump, maybe he didn't win them, but he made significant inroads. And again, there's no electoral college in states. In states, it does matter how much you win your areas by, right? Kamala Harris, she can win California by 1% and it won't affect her electoral college number. But in statewide races like New Jersey, in any presidential race within a state, you have to win your areas big to make up for the losses in other places. It's simple math. And so just taking the example of Camden, which in 2012, Barack Obama won Camden with 68% of the vote. And in 2024, Kamala Harris got 63. And it gets a lot worse for her as we go upstate. But let's just start in Camden, right? Kamala Harris, to go to Donald Trump here for a second, he got under 88,000 votes. Mitt Romney got 63,000. So we saw in 12 years, Donald Trump gained 25,000 votes for Republicans. And again, this is a kind of that's such been growing. Barack Obama, he got 137,000 votes. That's actually less than Kamala Harris. So this county's been growing a lot, and that's, I think, credit Democrats for increasing their margins here, right? But at the end of the day, the fact that we saw growth in this blue county and Donald Trump benefited from that, he netted 25K. Harris netted what? If Obama was at 137, she netted around 18,000. So we saw growth in a deep blue county, and Donald Trump arguably was the benefactor of that. So that's South Jersey to me. And again, this is, I think, the least problematic area of the state for Democrats, because again, this swing, it happened in 2024. Obviously, we saw 2 Biden counties in the southern part of the state vote for Trump. It also happened in 2016, right? And even then, Hillary Clinton still won the state by double digits. So the bigger problem for Democrats is North Jersey. Now, we're going to start in the suburbs because I think that this is kind of the simplest of the 3 regions to talk about. And I want to hone in on Morris County. Morris County, again, I think if I had to guess, the most affluent county in New Jersey. Again, feel free to fact check me on that. I'm guessing based on what I know, but this county, it's mostly white, very college educated, and it's a swing county. Now, it was not always a swing county. Republicans used to win this county pretty reliably back in the day. If you go to 2012, I was saying how well Obama did in downstate Jersey. You look at Morris County, Mitt Romney did quite well here. He won it by almost 12%, and he won it by 24,000 votes. In 2020, Trump won it by 8,000 votes, around 2%. It has also grown significantly. This is among the fastest growing parts of New Jersey. And so Democrats, this is part of their new coalition, right? Like, Democrats have been saying they're going to make up for their losses in the big cities, their losses with working class voters, their losses with voters of color, specifically Hispanic voters. They're going to make up for that, arguably, with suburban voters, educated voters, white affluent voters, right? And in 2020, they did that. And in 2022, those gains mostly held up. But we saw in 2024, not really. Morris County, this county voted for Joe Biden by 6% or 5% in 2020. or actually 4%. What am I saying? 4% in 2020, right? He netted around 12,000 votes out of this county. In 2024, we saw Donald Trump won it by 2%. So we saw a 6% swing, and among the whitest, most affluent, most educated parts, not only of New Jersey, but of the country. This is the type of demographic the Democrats said was going to come out for them in this election. It swung against them by 6%. So that is a very bad result for Democrats. And I think there's a couple explanations for why. Again, I talked about South Jersey, how I think a lot of that comes from the national swing away from Democrats that Hispanic voters and black voters to a smaller extent saw, as well as the white working class, obviously. But in North Jersey, I think it's a different story because, again, this is a demographic that was relative to 2020, was among the best for Kamala Harris. If you look at the swing map, you look at the areas where Kamala Harris did the best relative to Biden, there's two regions where Kamala Harris really held her ground. The first region is regions that diversified. So you look at some parts of the South Atlanta suburbs, which have diversified significantly even since 2020. Kamala Harris did better there. And then more importantly, when you look at, or I shouldn't say more importantly, but I think this applies to a broader range of areas and in swing states specifically, areas that are mostly college educated, mostly white, they did not swing significantly. Maybe they moved a little bit towards Trump or a little bit towards Harris. But they didn't really move in general. But in Morris County, New Jersey, it did move. It was an exception to the rule. And I think that this happened because, and again, this is what Republicans have been saying, and I think this is the first time they've been really vindicated about this in the lens of an election, is that people, I think, genuinely were upset with how Democrats were governing their state. Now, before the Democrats listening to this video, or whether a Democrat or progressive or a conservative or a Republican, right? Again, this is not like me expressing an opinion. But I think this can be said for the fact that Democrats have governed these states like New Jersey, like New York, like California, and these states swung against them, pretty significantly. And Republicans ran on issues like crime, like homelessness, like failed governance in big cities especially, and they pinned that on Democrats. And whether that's fair to Democrats or not, I think a lot of voters bought it because we've seen these states, the states that Republicans have kind of made a caricature out of almost. They swung the most against Democrats. In 2022, we saw it in New York and California, and in 2024, we saw it in New York as well as in also New Jersey, right? So I think you look at these suburban voters; these are not voters who I think necessarily were targeted by Republicans directly, but they clearly bought the messaging about, look, Democrats are not running these cities well, they're not running these states well. It's time to change something. And again, I think Democrats really have seen some success with this message kind of in the reverse. Like in Mississippi in 2023, we saw Democrats come within 3% of winning a governorship in a deep red state because the Democrats ran a campaign of, look, Republicans are failing Mississippi. And again, whether you buy that or not, it's not my job to tell you. But I think it's pretty clear that some voters do buy these things. And that's why you have longtime Republicans voting Democrat and longtime Democrats voting Republican, because people are generally upset. That was the whole theme of this election, is that people were upset. So it makes sense that, there's some sort of, little mini internal rebellion in states like New Jersey, as well as in New York and California. But the biggest problem for Democrats is not in Morris County, because this county, I think, is going to swing back in the long run. What is not going to come back is Hudson, Essex, and Union County. Let's take a look at Essex County. This is still the bluest in the state. Kamala Harris got 72% of the vote here. In 2012, Obama got 77%. If we look at the raw number of votes here, Kamala Harris 224,000, Barack Obama 217,000, but Trump way up from Mitt Romney. Trump up 22,000 over Mitt Romney in 2012. So that is a huge, huge problem here. And then again, you go to Hudson County. This is an even bigger swing that I want to begin to talk about. Obama got 77% of the vote here. If we go to 2024, Kamala Harris only got 63%. So we actually saw a 25, 30-point swing in Hudson County. Again, 77 to 63 is a 14-point swing, but we also saw Trump get 35 while Romney only got, 20, 22. So, that accounts for it. Again, Kamala Harris got 144,000 votes. Barack Obama got 136, but Trump up from Romney. Trump got 80,000 votes. 44 is from the 144. Trump got 80,000 votes. Mitt Romney, he got only 38,000 votes. So pretty clearly we saw some backlash in these areas in Newark. And then finally, Union County, the other one I mentioned here for a second. Kamala Harris only got 61% here. Barack Obama got 66%. And again, if we compare Trump to Romney, Romney got 66,000 votes. Trump got 89,000 votes. Now, just to kind of add some context to this, it's not it's not interesting or particularly good analysis for me to just throw statistics at you. So let's kind of view this as a whole, right? Kamala Harris won New Jersey. Let's see, she got 220,000 over a million, and Trump got 32,000 under, so she won by 250,000 votes. Let's call it in New Jersey. If we look at just the number of votes that Trump gained in these 3 counties relative to Romney, let's see, Union County, Romney 66, Trump at 89. So we saw a 23,000 vote gain for Trump in Union. We saw in Essex, this was among the bigger ones, 84,000 for Trump. Romney got 61,000. It's another 20. So that's 23,000, right? And then finally in Hudson County, this is the biggest one. Trump got 80,000. Mitt Romney got 38,000. So that's 50,000. Then you have these that were 23,000. And I think another 23,000. These are kind of similar. So that is almost 100,000 votes. It might even be a little more if you do the math and you don't round, right? So that alone, that swing alone is responsible for, like, again, if this happens again in 2028, that alone is responsible for like a good 40% of the margin in New Jersey. And then we're talking about a 3-point race or a 3.5-point race, right? And so that just goes to show, you look at these 3 counties, these are not areas the Republicans do well. Democrats, Kamala Harris still won these counties handily. But even in the areas where you lose, if you can lose by just a little bit less every election, it will add up over time. And again, if you look at 2020, where Democrats did a lot better in New Jersey, right? Barack Obama still did a lot better than Joe Biden in these counties. And again, I think this swing is really notable when you look at the decrease in votes here from 2020 to 2024, or from 24 to 2020, right? And I'll talk about that in a second, right? But like in general, just the fact that we saw Trump get 10, 20, 30,000 more votes than Mitt Romney in these counties in deep blue parts of New Jersey that Republicans haven't even been campaigning in for decades says a lot. That really goes to show, I think, how bad I think Democrats were in New Jersey this year, as well as how deep I think the Trump appeal worked. But to look at some more stats here, Passaic County, this was a shocker. Donald Trump won this by 3%. In 2020, or this is not 2020, but in 2012, Barack Obama won it by 28%. 2020, Joe Biden won it by 16 or 17 almost. So we saw a 20-point swing in Passaic County. County that voted for Biden by 17 gave Trump a 3-point margin victory. Kamala Harris got 95,000 votes. If we compare it to 2020, Biden got 129,000 votes. So again, next thing I want to talk about is the turnout decrease. Hudson County, Biden got 181K. Kamala Harris got 144K. That alone, that is a 36,000 vote decrease in Hudson County. In Essex County, Kamala Harris got 224K. Biden got 266K. That's another 40,000 votes away for Democrats. And then Union County, Harris got 147. Biden got 170. That's another 23,000 votes. So again, compared to 2012, you talk about how well Trump did relative to Romney. Then bring in 2020, how poorly Harris did relative to Biden. Again, this was in the middle of a pandemic. Democrats were not even knocking doors in 2020. And we still saw Biden do a lot better than Kamala Harris in these counties. And that is just a really big reflection of how bad this result was for Democrats. So now, talking about the long term, because again, I don't want to just focus on the short term, like just these swings. I think New Jersey's real competitive in the long term. Maybe not in 2028, but look, Democrats is a clear trend. If this is even close to being right, this number right here, right, and to the extent this number, because this is still a bit of a swing from 2020, but it's really this number here with the Hispanic vote. If it's close to being right, Democrats are in a world of trouble in New Jersey in the future. Because again, this is still a state that voted to the left of the country. I think there's still a lot of room to fall for Hispanic voters, or for Democrats among Hispanic voters in New Jersey. We saw swings in counties that voted for Biden in 2020. They went for Trump in 2024. There's still more voters for Republicans to move. I think that, again, Joe Biden, let's think about this. If he stayed in the race, he might have legitimately lost New Jersey. That's crazy to say, and I would not have predicted that before the election. But Biden might have legitimately lost New Jersey by maybe 1 or 2% had he stayed in the race. Just think about that for a second, right? So, I think Democrats were close to it being even, a lot worse. I think Kamala Harris helped them avoid a disaster of a result by, stepping up to taking control of the ticket here. But again, New Jersey, again, Democrats in these counties are bleeding votes every election. It happened in 2020 relative to 2012, and it happened in 2024 even relative to 2020. So Democrats have to stem the bleeding. The Republicans, they're going to go all in. I think they can kind of sense the blood in the water. They can see that this is going to be a state where Democrats, where there's a chance for something to happen, where Democrats have to, defend something. They're going to make Democrats defend it. They're going to make Democrats expand the battlefield. So that is going to be a huge advantage for the GOP going forward. And luckily, we have a gubernatorial election 2025. We're going to see if Republicans can keep cutting into these margins in these areas, because Democrats, they've been overachieving in these cities for a while with a lot of voters maybe aren't super socially liberal, maybe don't align with every Democratic policy. I think the walls are starting to come down for Democrats. We're going to see how it looks like in 2025. So again, 2025, it's going to be a great year, hopefully, for everyone. Wishing you all the best things to come in 2025. I hope everyone has a blessed year. So thank you all. Thank you all for supporting me in 2024, and I'll have more content for you going forward. Thanks, and see you all next video.